It was just supposed to be an easy summer gig working at the old Blackwood summer camp to help pay for next semester's tuition. Little did I know, I would soon be fighting for my life against an ancient evil lurking in the shadowy woods. The first few weeks were pretty typical, keeping the grounds maintained, organizing activities for the kids, the usual camp stuff. The oldest campers loved to try and scare the new youngsters with tales about the camp's dark history and the mysterious disappearances of campers decades ago. Just stupid ghost stories, or so I thought. It all started one night after lights out. I was making my rounds, doing a perimeter check when I heard strange noises coming from the trail leading into the forest behind the cabins. Like a weird sort of rhythmic chanting in some guttural language I didn't recognize. Grabbing a flashlight, I cautiously made my way down the path to investigate. The obscene, slobbering utterances grew louder until I reached a small, overgrown clearing. What I saw there will be forever burned into my nightmares. A circle of robed, hunched figures stood chanting around a blazing campfire, swaying in some sort of ritualistic rhythm. But it was what hung above the fire that made my blood freeze. Suspended over the flames by lengths of thick rope was the corpse of a massive deer, its skin carved with bizarre symbols that oozed blackish ichors. The gut-churning stench of roasted flesh hung thick in the air as the grotesque ceremony reached a fevered climax. One of the robed figures stepped forward and impaled the charred carcass on a wicked-looking stake, hoisting it up like some sort of ungodly banner. That's when one of the others must have sensed my presence. It turned toward me, the hood falling back to reveal a face that wasn't even remotely human. Just a mass of jagged fangs, quivering tendrils, and black gullet where there should have been eyes and a nose. It let out an ungodly shriek that made my ears ring with pain. Before I knew it, all the hulking figures were lurching toward me, their disproportionate limbs pulling them across the ground in a scuttling, inhuman gait. I didn't stick around to see what new hell they had in store for me. I just ran, branches whipping across my face as I tore back down the trail towards the main campgrounds with those abominations skittering behind me. The weeks that followed were some of the most horrifying of my life. Any time I went out after dark, those things would be there. Watching me from the tree line, their inky forms just observing with their featureless non-faces. Occasionally, I'd hear that hellish chanting drifting on the night breeze from the forest depths, filling me with untold dread. Worse than the nightly vigils of the entities was what they started doing to the campers and staff. One morning, we found poor Sarah, a shy 12-year-old camper, hanging from the flagpole by a length of woven vines, her lifeless eyes bored into oblivion. No matter how many times the counselors counted heads, a different child always came up missing the next day. The youngest ones began sleepwalking, waking up huddled in terrified groups, babbling about the tall friends who came in the night, urging them to join the dance. We had to start locking the cabins, yet the disappearances persisted. It was like whatever primordial evil inhabited those archaic woods could simply will itself through any obstruction to drag its prey screaming into the boughs. Supplies and help never came from the outside world, almost like an invisible force prevented anyone from finding the camp's remote location. We were trapped in our own insular, inescapable hell. Stragglers who ventured too far into the forest would return in a daze days later, their minds utterly shattered into catatonic husks. Those were the lucky ones. I huddled in terror with the handful of survivors those last few desperate nights, listening to the bone-chilling howls reverberate through the pines, knowing our time was running short. The compulsive chanting seeped into our fractured slumbers, worming into our subconscious with nerve-scraping promises of rapture and rebirth into new, otherworldly forms. When the end finally came, it didn't happen how you'd expect with those ungodly things swarming out of the tree line in a frontal assault. It was far more insidious than that. One of the campers, young Billy, had evidently been a deep sleeper. Too deep to wake from the alien lullaby beckoning his fragile psyche to surrender itself up fully that final night. None of us saw his tiny somnambulant form shuffling out of the cabin toward the tree line with his glassy eyes and blissful smile. It was only the next morning when we found the remnants that we realized the dreadful truth. There was no escape from the insatiable hunger of the ancient entities. Our waking realities and perception of safety were just illusions lulling us into placid complacency while the cycle of sacrifice played out again from the shadows. As the frail husk that had once been young Billy opened its rapturous maw to commemorate the obscene rite and beckon us to embrace our rightful places in the orders of the hidden cosmos, I came to accept the terrifying inevitability that there are older things in this world than humanity can ever hope to comprehend. And they have been waiting patiently for eons to reclaim all of us as celebrants in the endless arcane pageantry.